And for what? So that your billionaire friends can get nearly $300,000 in tax cuts? This is not a serious budget. This is a green light for authoritarianism, for inequality to run rampant. It is a police state budget wrapped in billionaire tax cuts.
Because we're, as you know, in the middle of this Minnesota welfare fraud. And there's been a lot of accusations about a circle of influential Somali Americans that are benefiting from these financial scams in Minnesota. Her name is on the list. Now, she's going to get due process. I don't know if she's guilty, but what I know is she went from zero to anywhere between $6 and $30 million in a year. And
the room freezes when the number hits the table. 0 to as much as $30 million in a single year. No clear business, no straight answer, just silence when the question gets simple. Where did the money come from? Now investigators say they're following the trail, and it's leading straight into the middle of Minnesota's biggest fraud scandal. If you're new here, consider subscribing as we break down the moments the cameras caught.
All right, Mr. COMER, you were in banking before politics, right? So she suddenly, in 1 year, after being worth a few $1,000s, is now worth $30 million. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, and the way the financial disclosure forms are, there's a big variation, but here's what we know. She went from 0 to anywhere between $6 and $30 million in a year. Now, why is that relevant? First of all, I don't know many people that go from 0 to 30 without having a legitimate business. Her husband is in some type of finance business, but we don't know what it is. It doesn't appear to be private equity, doesn't appear to be venture capital. So we just have questions. What exactly is the business that you're involved in? It was kind of like the same questions we asked Hunter Biden that he never could answer. But then, you know, she won't answer any questions. The ethics committee is supposed to investigate members. We're not supposed to investigate individual members, but this business is in her husband's name. So we can investigate her husband, and we are going to do that because we're, as you know, in the middle of this Minnesota welfare fraud. And there's been a lot of accusations about a circle of influential Somali Americans that are benefiting from these financial scams in Minnesota. Her name is on the list. Now, she's going to get due process. I don't know if she's guilty, but what I know is she went from 0 to anywhere between $6 and $30 million in a year, and she won't even answer a simple question like you saw there. What did you do?
I mean, it looks very suspicious when you have millions of the Somali cash just flying all over Minneapolis with no scrutiny whatsoever. Wasn't there also a vineyard involved here? The husband's involved in the wine business?
Yeah. You know, there's a thing called money laundering where people have businesses and they deposit, lots of cash. Again, I'm not accusing them of any wrongdoing, but she should answer a simple question. If any member of Congress is asked what business their family's involved in, I've never seen one fail to answer it. That's not a hard question. My husband has a private equity firm and he's done exceptionally well in the last 12 months. She won't answer that question. And everybody in America suspects foul play here.
Right.
And again, we're going to find out. It's not going to be hard to figure out what business he's in and where the money came from. So that's going to be a central part of our entire Minnesota fraud investigation, because she is the leader in Congress, in the district, in the congressional district where the overwhelming majority of the welfare fraud is taking place. Her name, as well as the Attorney General Keith Ellison's name, have been mentioned as people of interest. I'll put it like that, Jesse. So we're gonna follow through on this, and I think she's gonna have some difficult questions to answer.
All right. Well, if Omar starts painting and selling those pieces of art, then I think we're on to something.
The exchange starts with a blunt question directed at House Oversight Chairman James Comer. Before politics, Comer worked in banking. So when the host asks him about a financial disclosure tied to Ilhan Omar, the numbers immediately raise eyebrows. According to the discussion, Omar's reported net worth allegedly jumped from essentially 0 to somewhere between $6 million and $30 million in just 1 year. Comer says that kind of leap almost always has a clear explanation. Usually it's a company, a business exit, a major investment. But here's where the questions begin. Comer says Omar's husband is involved in some type of finance-related work, The problem, according to him, is that no one seems able to clearly define what that business actually is. Is it venture capital, private equity, investment management? None of those appear obvious from what's publicly known. And COMER argues that when members of Congress are asked about family income sources, the answer is normally simple. My spouse runs a firm. My spouse sold a company. My spouse works in finance. But in this case, COMER says the question has repeatedly gone unanswered. That's why the issue is now intersecting with something much bigger. Right now, investigators are digging into what's been described as one of the largest welfare fraud cases in Minnesota history. Prosecutors have already accused multiple individuals of siphoning millions from federal food aid programs intended for children. The alleged scheme centered around organizations in Minneapolis, right inside Omar's congressional district. COMER's careful with his wording. He says he is not accusing Omar of a crime, but he says the massive jump in wealth and the lack of explanation are enough to justify asking questions, especially while investigators are already examining financial networks tied to the broader fraud case. And according to COMER, investigators are prepared to follow the paper trail. What business generated the money? Who paid it? And where exactly did it come from? Those are the questions he says will now be examined as part of the broader Minnesota investigation. COMER also notes that names connected to state leadership, including Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, have surfaced during discussions around the case as potential people of interest. Again, COMER stresses one key point: due process comes first. But he also makes it clear this investigation is moving forward, because when a public official's finances suddenly jump from thousands to tens of millions in a single year, COMER says investigators have a responsibility to find out exactly how it happened. And according to him, those answers may be coming soon. If you want more breakdowns of moments like this inside Congress, like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts below.